Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Lewandowski. I'm the library consultant for small business development and technology at the New Jersey State Library. Welcome to the new home for the old group, LibsWork. So welcome to my Zoom room. We're going to get started just by going around and introducing ourselves. If you just want to say your name, where your library is, any details you want to share about what you're working on or what you're hoping to gain from the group or anything like that. We'll kind of leave it open-ended for this one. I can tell you in New Jersey, we are in the middle. We just started we had our first session of a digital literacy forum today. So we are focusing on different aspects of digital literacy with the forum. So today was adult basic education, ESL. Tomorrow is workforce development. The next day is youth services. And then the last day is telehealth. So it's a 2-hour workshop or, keynote and panelist session each day. And we have New Jersey speakers to really focus on what the New Jersey issues are around digital literacy. So one of the interesting things today was talking about just, are we using the right terminology by even saying digital literacy? Because we wouldn't talk about book literacy, it's just literacy and it's a selection of skills. So are we maybe making things too confusing or making the terminology we're using is not fully accurate because we're talking about these skills within digital literacy and what does that mean? And so that was some interesting food for thought. All right, I will turn it over. Emily, you're on my left, Emily Steele, so I'll let you go next. And then you can call on the next person. And if anyone doesn't have access to your microphone, you can do as Ben did and put it into the chat. So.
Okay, my name is Emily Steele. I work at McCracken County Public Library in Western Kentucky. And our big thing right now is we're about to move to public service desks together. So we're all freaked out about that. All right, Hillary, you are on my other side.
I'm Hillary Ridd. I'm the Workforce and Adult Services Consultant at the Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives. And I'm happy to be here today. I'm going to get ready to start working on LSTA subgrant. And just, let's see, we had a statewide job fair last month that Emily's library participated in. There were 25 counties across the state that participated, and that was a really neat idea that actually one of the Lexington Public Library in Fayette County asked to partner with the state library on. And so it's a really neat initiative, and nearly 1,000 kits, over 900 take-home job fair kits were given out during the job fair week. So that was a really neat thing. And I will pass it to Lesley.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lesley Garrett. I use they, them, and she, her pronouns. I was formerly of McCracken County Public Library, where I worked with Emily on the toolkits we're going to talk about today. I'm now at Seattle Central College as a reference assistant here, and I'm also attending the University of Washington Library program. I'm hoping to focus my research on crisis informatics and the role of libraries in disaster recovery and response. Let's see. How about David Sniffen?
Hello, I'm a program manager of workforce development for Charlotte Mecklenburg Library in Charlotte. Thanks for having me. I'll pass it to Jovita.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jovita Vaz from Project Literacy at Howard County Library System. I work as a transition specialist. I help NEDP graduates in making transition into their next step. Today, I'm here to learn as much as I can from this session. Thank you. I'll pass to Arlene.
Hi, everyone. I'm Arlene Weibel. I work at the State Library in Oregon, where I'm a consultant working on various workforce development initiatives in the state. And what we've been talking about recently is trying to figure out what kind of training opportunities we could develop for library staff in the state around workforce development. We're having some trouble trying to figure out how the best people to work with in our workforce system to help us develop some training. And we're having a little bit of a challenge, but we're continuing to work through it. Partnerships is what it's all about. So, and I will pass it on to Ann Crichton.
Hi, everybody. I'm the Workforce Development Manager at Dayton Metro Library. This is a new position for us in Dayton, Ohio. Before, we had a business reference librarian and a nonprofit services librarian, but with the new initiatives around workforce, they turned this position into a management level position, and then I will hire and supervise the business specialist and the nonprofit services specialist. So sort of an economic opportunity team, if you will, in the end. I came to the library February 1st. I was with the library for 7 years before that and left just the length of time that the pandemic lasted, and I came back because I realized that libraries are really where I want to be. And I'm really committed to helping people better themselves using the resources the library has to offer for whatever's next in their journey. How about Cheryl?
Hi, my name is Cheryl Martin. I work for the North Olympic Library System up here in the northwest corner of Washington State. I'm an adult services librarian, and we have not been focusing enough on workforce and economic development. We have a few things we've dabbled in. We have some great resources through our state library, like LinkedIn and free proctoring exams, things like that. Danielle can probably speak to that. And I don't think it's Spokane County, but I attended a great presentation just a few days ago with the Spokane Public Library on their business resource and the things they're doing in your community over there that I'm learning from. And that's kind of why I'm here, is trying to figure out what my mid-sized library system should focus on and what would be the best things for us to apply our staff and energy and time and money to. So I'm here to be a fly on the wall somewhat. So thanks.
And how about we pass it to Genevieve?
Okay, sorry, I was having difficulty with that mute button. My name is Genevieve Purchase, and I am one of 4 deputy chiefs for Enoch Pratt Free Library and the State Library Resource Center here in Baltimore, Maryland. I am actively looking for a workforce librarian. We are currently recruiting for our workforce position. So if anybody wants to come to Baltimore, please come join us. It's great. And some of the programs we are currently working on along the line of digital literacy, we've been distributing laptops that we were given from Dell, Chromebooks to be more specific, throughout barber shops and beauty salons here in Baltimore City for families to have access to the internet. Oh, sorry, and I am going to pass it to Brandy.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Brandy Chandler here from Mid-Continent Public Library in the Kansas City metro area, the community workforce specialist. And I am here a little bit to be a fly on the wall as well and find out what kinds of things are working for you guys across the country and what kinds of things you are maybe leaning towards abandoning. I'm kind of curious to find out how that's going, and here to listen. Thanks. Let's go to Lisa. Have you introduced yourself yet? Let's go to Lisa.
Thank you. And shout out to Enoch Pratt too. You guys saved my butt once when I was lost in Baltimore. So I have a special place in my heart for you. Everybody was so nice. I am Lisa Shaw. I'm the small and rural libraries specialist and the workforce development specialist with the Maine State Libraries Division of Library Development. Prior to that, I was a library director for a few years, and I was also with the Department of Labor once upon a time, Bureau of Employment Services. And Maine has a bunch of different things going on. One of our big initiatives that we are trying to get underway is Bendable Maine, which is working with the Drucker Institute for the same model that they launched in South Bend, Indiana for Bendable. So that's a platform statewide for all people to access with lifelong wide learning things, but also working on trying to connect up with community colleges, higher ed, adult ed, for a warm handoff if somebody actually wants to pursue something more formally, but are just sort of credential curious at first. So we're working at, we're working with a statewide micro-credentialing steering committee, trying to get that going as well, and recognizing credentials that people come into the state with, and making them as transferable as possible without like, oh, you were a doctor back home. That's nice. You'll be lucky to get hired as a cook here. Like, that's just stupid. So that's kind of a lot of things that we're working on here. And if anybody who's new here, this is a really great group, and I'm so glad you're all here. I am going to bounce next to Natalie. Have you gone yet? All right, Natalie.
Hello, everybody. Sorry for the beginning. We got brand new computers a couple days ago, and all our tech isn't working exactly the way it normally was. So apologize for the beginning. But I'm Natalie Rupert. I'm the manager of the Career and Job Services Division of the Kenton County Public Library. Very happy to have Hillary Ritt as our state workforce librarian. She's a great asset to us. We've been involved in workforce development a long time now, going over 10 years. And we started out doing a lot of digital literacy classes, both through the Google program, through Microsoft, first-time computer users classes, GED classes, anything we could to remove barriers to entry for people to enter the workforce. We still do those, but we have struggled with having people attend a lot of the digital literacy classes, not as much lately. But one of the bigger things we're known for is we have a job search support group for professionals in career transition that meets here every Wednesday, that we've been running for about 6 years now. And we've built an entire series of professional level job searching skills classes around that. And we've had almost 500 people land jobs through the program in the last 3.5 years that we've been keeping track. We have economic impact studies going on about that right now. And we just did a new video about the program that I'll have to share with the group at some point. So that's me, happy to be here. Anybody else that we missed?
I haven't gone, so I'll go. I'm Danielle Milton. I am a library manager at the Spokane County Library District. I was formerly a business and career development librarian with the county. So if you've worked with Stacy Goddard, she usually attends these meetings and is in charge of the business and career team. In Spokane, we've done a variety of classes and programs. We've worked with our local community colleges for our GED classes. We've connected with our alternative high schools and have done some resume and interview classes with them. We used to do a lot of like computer basics classes, but we found those were a struggle. So we turned them, we direct people to our book librarians because it tends to work better in a one-on-one session instead of a class format. We haven't done a ton with our local corrections or the reentry population, so I'd like to see if we can start to expand some of that. Yeah, I think that's about it for me. Thanks.
I can go to Alta Porterfield. My title is Social Innovator, and I'm with the state libraries, and we represent working with the public libraries. And not only do we work with the public libraries, but I really think my main goal is working with a partner. So we have a tremendous amount of partners that are working with the libraries and filling in all the needs with the social determinants of health. And that's my main focus. I started off with the workforce, and I'm still very involved in the workforce piece of it. So right now, I came in a little bit late. So I heard Andrew talking about literacy. One of our main things with this, the state libraries, we're working with the entire state in regards to literacy. So that's the Council on Excellence is a national program working with Baldrige and Stanford, working on one focus area, and we picked literacy for our state. And so that means health and all financial, all the digital, obviously, all that piece of it itself and all. I do want to say something that happened yesterday, which was sad. And I think this is something we'll connect with a lot of you. So we're very involved with WIOA and have been on board with them since when WIOA started. So yesterday was an expo that we were going to have one in each county. Now, bear in mind, Delaware is very tiny, so we're not talking a lot of counties here. And we had an expo with 40 different partners in regards to all the upskillings and all the free things. Right now, we all have all these free programs and free college and certificates and trainings and on, advertised on TV and radio and all that good stuff. And it was a good networking for all the partners to hear more about each other and talk to each other about all the different programs. The public didn't show. Hardly anyone, like unbelievably bad attendance. And that's what we're seeing actually in our library system. The people that my team works with, they're not coming necessarily into the libraries. Sure, they come in when there was COVID home test kits coming in, right? And all that stuff. But as far as it's just amazing. There is and I know most of the states are this way, is that there's so many jobs available that we're not seeing the people that want to upskill. They're just getting a job without even trying, which is not necessarily going to be one that's going to be a lasting livable wage down the road. But anyways, sorry to be on a sour note. We have our next county one is on Thursday, and there's been a lot of advertising going on. So let's hope this next county will be totally different than Kent County. So anyways, and I love this group, and I love that we have all these new faces. So thank you.
And our grand finale. Oh, yep.
Hi, my name is Detrice Fox, and I am an adult services librarian at the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library, where my primary focus is workforce and career development programs. Currently, I am working with a wireless internet service provider in an underserved community, providing free wireless internet service to the area. So that's what I do right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Yay. And that's everyone. So great job. I feel like a sense of accomplishment that we did that and in 20 minutes. So pat on the back. Good job. And great to see all of you and new faces and people I've seen before. Just very nice to have you all here. So now I'm going to hand it over to Hillary to introduce our speakers and our topic for today. And then Hillary, I'll also let you explain how you want to take questions or, moderate chat or anything like that. If we want to pause at certain points or save them to the end, you can just let everybody know. Okay.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for this opportunity to share what some great things are going on in Kentucky. So I'd like to introduce, and then Emily and Lesley have already introduced themselves, but Emily Steele is the Adult and Digital Services Librarian at the McCracken County Public Library. And Lesley is the Reference Assistant at the Seattle Central College. And so both of them worked on or developed a reentry kit that they are using at the McCracken County Public Library to help those who were involved in the justice system. Their program has been featured in Programming Librarian, and they received a grant for this. And so I'll let them tell you more about that. And then Lesley and Emily, if it's all right, I'll moderate the chat, and then we can have questions at the end. Does that sound okay to you all? All right, and then I will pass it over to Emily for and Lesley for sharing their slides. Thank you again for presenting.
All right. Hello, everyone. So yes, as mentioned, I'm Lesley and I've got Emily here too. I think I'm on the first slide to introduce, so we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, so we are presenting on our reentry toolkits through McCracken County Public Library. And if we'll go to the next slide. So just some like background and research on why we wanted to focus on this particular demographic of our patrons. I've got a lot of text there, but I'm mostly going to just kind of free talk, so you can read that if you would like. Just for some local context, our library is located just around the corner from our county jail. And because of that, we are usually the first stop that people make when they are released. A lot of times the jail will refer them to us as just a local source for phones, computers, et cetera, et cetera. And that factored into our decision to go for this, in part because whenever our building was closed during COVID, we did have people approach us to use our phones, which were not an option at the time because we weren't allowing anyone into the building. And so that was like a concrete need that came up whenever our building was closed. So in addition to these reentry toolkits, we also added a public use phone in our lobby that people can use to make a call if they need to at no charge. As far as what's on this slide, I added this article by Jordan Mackley and Austin at the end, so I totally recommend reading it. But they did a study on services that libraries were providing to people experiencing incarceration. And a lot of the trends they found included re-entry career fairs, presenting to staff and inmates on library services, offering legal information and reference services, plans to teach early literacy skills to parents, as well as posting resource lists. But sort of where our providing the reentry toolkits comes in is providing the actual tech necessary for people to do calls necessary, type up their resume, apply to jobs, etc.
Don't want too far. There we go.
All right, so getting started, we oh, I'm not answering questions yet. Yeah, so getting started, we already had the digital toolboxes. This is a program that had been going on for years at this point, and this is more an evolving of that program to meet the particular needs of our service population. We also had longstanding outreach work with local recovery centers as well as the Reentry Council. At the time I was on staff, I was the Bookmobile Coordinator and did a lot of work with our local recovery centers, as well as like not only providing materials via the Bookmobile, but also just like having conversations, getting a read on what people were needing, wanting from the library. And that included internet access, especially for those who didn't have access while at the recovery centers. I'll let Emily speak to the Reentry Council work because she was more on point for that. Emily, do you want to throw in a note on what that was like?
Yeah. Our career centers in our states, I think that they each have a reentry council. We are in the western part of the state, and our career council, they actually are right down the street from us. We meet once a month, and it's a pretty big group. There are, I'd say probably about 15 of us here regulars, and then other people come in as they can. It is a pretty wide range of different social services. There's veteran services. There are people who help anyone trying to get a GD. There are groups of people who are trying to help people get insurance. It covers a lot. And one of the good things about it is just for people like me learning about what it's like to get out and what you have to do. They did an exercise one day where you had to try to figure out how you get through your first day out with $30 in your pocket, and you've got to be here and you've got to be there and you've got to see the judge and your probation officer. And honestly, I don't know if I could get through it. So it's been an eye-opener, and we've learned a lot from it. And it's now an opportunity for me to plug the reentry toolkit every few months.
As mentioned earlier, we identified the need for the phone services while our doors were closed for COVID, and that factored into the phone component of our toolkits. So as far as what's in our particular digital toolbox, the existing toolkits had a laptop, a mobile hotspot, a mouse, a flash drive, and a carrying case. They check out for 3 months at a time. And as mentioned earlier, this is a program that's been in place for a few years pre-pandemic.
This program is still wildly popular. There is always a really long wait for it. And we also have just hotspots that go out. So often people, as soon as they check one of these two things in, they get on the list for the other thing. And some of them have gotten really good at timing it so that they've got a pretty good idea of when something's going to come back so that they don't miss their hold. It's a pretty big deal. Okay, so this is our kit. You can see the carrying case back there. Most of them fit in there pretty good. The last one that I got, I had to get a refurbished laptop that's a little bit too thick, and it's like Tetris to get everything in there, but it's been working out. You can see our flip phone there on the side. It's a pretty chunky phone. It's one of those durable ones. And then at the binder in the back is a resource book, which I'll talk about in one of the other slides. So that's the bulk of it right there. Our phones have been a little bit of an issue. We knew that it was going to be a bit of a learning curve because we've never checked out phones, at least not since I've been here. It is a Verizon service, and the cost of the phone and the activation were waived for us, so we're paying for the service. The name of it is a Dura XV, and it's got a camera, and it's $30 a month for unlimited voice and text. So we thought that would cover everything, but then we found out like the first month that they have internet access now. We had no idea that there were flip phones that covered that. You can watch videos on them, you can play games, and you can blow through the 30 whatever of data in like 2 weeks easy. So we haven't really worked out yet what we're going to do about that. We may go up to a different plan that's another $10 a month. We could eventually decide to drop the phones. We haven't had enough use to really decide that yet. So that's kind of up in the air. I have, as an experiment, I got out one of the phones and I tried to get through the internet a little bit, and it's the up and down buttons. So you like up until you get to what you want, and then right, and then you click it, and then you go like down, left, and I think it's pretty horrible, but apparently if you're determined, you can do it. So the phones were the only thing that were new, and they were kind of the wild card. So I don't know, we'll see. Every one of the computers has the software that's on. We put on the usual Office programs. We have a program called NetNanny for filtering, and sometimes it filters so well that it actually shuts off the entire internet and you can't do anything. We have one called Deep Freeze, which wipes the computer between uses. So every time they turn the computer off, it wipes everything they've done, and it goes back to wherever the start is. We always put on an Adobe PDF reader. They come with Edge. I don't think there's any way of avoiding Edge, but we also add Firefox and Chrome. And we have a program on the computers called Absolute, which is for security, so that we can track them later if they get lost. So the information that's included, the first part of this is the resource book. Our state's, Kentucky's Division of Reentry Services has a resource guide. We thought this would be a pretty big job putting together, and then the first thing I found online was they've already got a guide. It has a lot of information for our county of different services they can contact. Then we put in a few brochures from things like legal aid, and we put in some information on library services. And then I put in some digital skills stuff about like how to use this laptop and how to understand that it's going to wipe itself in between uses. We give them a flash drive so they can save anything they're working on. We give them a rundown of how to use the hotspot. And some people who check them, I have never used one. So if you've never used one, if you remember the first time you picked up a hotspot, you need a little help. And then how to get more help. My first plan was we were going to have people come into the library and meet with me, and I was going to give them a little orientation. And then I realized that that was going to cut out people who maybe don't have reliable transportation, or they can't get in here and spend half an hour with somebody during my work week. So we tried to put as much of that as we could into the resource guide. Don't really know how much use it's getting. We've been giving people surveys and they haven't been filling them out, but there is a lot of good information in it. And then the other part of the information is on the computer. And one of the parts of the grant, which actually I realize now that I went past the grant slide, but I'll go back to it. But it is about digital literacy. So we have links on the desktop, some of our YouTube classes on the basic digital skills and job hunting. We are also a Grow with Google partner. So we've got at least one of their job hunting classes and a few others that we've done over time. I have one on what it takes to apply to a job online, because we have people who come in and do this and they get really frustrated how long it takes and how many things that they have to do it. So I did a whole class on just how to do that. And then we have some more basic things like how to set up a Google account and how to do resume online. We have a PowerPoint from Go with Google that's, I think it's digital skills for everyday tasks, because I haven't recorded that one yet. And I made a digital skills checklist. It's on our website. That's linked on the homepage. It's for someone who's really, really new to computers. It links to the PLA's digitallearn.org at the beginning. It has some videos on, like, this is a computer, this is a flash drive, this is a mouse. So it goes from that into being able to use email. Promoting it, one of the requirements, it was a Dollar General grant. So we were supposed to let every Dollar General store in the area know that we want a grant. For this part of the country, I sent out 7 letters. This was last summer, I think, yeah. Our cases are really high, so I did it by letter because I was not about to go into every Dollar General in the county. We made them a half-page flyer because I refused to go into the store. I don't know if they posted it, but we also sent that out to some other local agencies. The grant gave us a press release, so we sent that out to local media. We took the flyers to the local jail, and we're going to make sure that they always have some of those. We were interviewed by Programming Librarian, and actually one of our newspapers in our region that we didn't send the press release to solved that somehow. And he came and interviewed us for his paper. And then we've put up some flyers in-house at 2 of the service desks and adult services. Some issues that we've had with putting this together were supply chain issues. Last summer, when we were ordering this, between me deciding which laptop we were going to get, getting approval, and going back, it would have gone up like sometimes $100. When we realized kind of late in the game we could get a 5th toolkit, we had to get a refurbished laptop, and it's very different from the others. And then we had to wait. I can't remember how long we had to wait for the hotspot, but it was a while. And it really interfered with the promotion, because usually when we put something out, we have a date on it. And when we started promoting this, we couldn't put a date to begin for sure, because we didn't know when it would be that we had all the different components together. So that made it kind of frustrating and difficult. We thought we would plan to have it done by the fall, and then we really hoped we'd have it done by probably actually July. And then we realized that if we had told everyone July, we would have probably been in trouble, because it was about September, I think, when we started getting them cataloged. The patron use has been a lot lower than we thought because of the other program with the 3-month checkout on the digital toolboxes. I was worried that 4 to 5 kits would not be enough. I was afraid people would be frustrated at the wait, and we have not had nearly as many people get them as we wanted to. Right now, we have 2 of them checked out. One of them is downstairs in a cabinet. One of them is in cataloging, and the other one, it's the one that's in pieces in the office, actually. We've had a little bit of response from every different thing that we've done. At least one person I know came because of the flyer in the library. One person put a video on Facebook, and then at least one person because they mentioned to someone at the library that they had recently gotten out, and that person told them about the program. So it's a little bit here and a little bit there. I do know at least one person wanted it because he had started some online coursework while he was in jail and wanted to finish it. And at least one other person has told me they were really hoping to find a job. So we don't ask them when they check it out what they want it for, but they've just volunteered that. So we've been really surprised by people not wanting it. So this is some of the possible reasons. And all it does is a lot of questions. I don't know if people are getting the word that these things are here. I'm afraid some people aren't coming in because they lost a book 10 years ago and think they can never check out again. We think maybe it's possible that there's less need than we thought. And I do think it's possible that some people who want to use a computer want to come in because they can print in here and they can get us to help them in here. And we have fax machines. So for some people, it may be that they do not want to take one home. Maybe someone has tried to use a hotspot in the past, it didn't work where they live. Maybe they can't actually physically get to the library to pick them up when we're open. So I don't really know, just got a lot of questions so far. I'm hoping over the summer to try to come up with some new promotion and try to make sure people know that they're here at least, and hopefully get the use up.
I'll go ahead and chime in a little bit here as well. Especially if you're thinking about implementing something like this and considering the options for your library. And outreach and having those conversations with folks, some of the barriers to even like coming to the library included like our proximity to the police station nearby, which did influence some people feeling like uncomfortable coming all the way, like, and then being right next to the police station. Or there was also, as Emily mentioned, they lost a book or turned in a book late and aren't yet aware of our fine-free policy or late fine-free policy at McLib. So a lot of my work on the Bookmobile was promoting that policy as well. So when kind of evaluating your library's position in the community, it helps to look at other factors, environmental as well as policy, that may influence how people interpret your library and feel about your library in the space.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next one and then I'm going to go back and find the one about the grant that I skipped over earlier. So going forward, as I already said, I'm going to try to figure out ways to raise awareness. We are going to be looking at the phones and evaluating if we need to keep them or possibly go up to a different plan where there's more data. It's not a lot more money. Well, the next thing, we were thinking about extending the checkout times, but the original digital toolkits, they used to go 3 months. We just changed that to 1 month. So we're not going to be extending these. Because I haven't had a whole list, I have been letting people renew them though. And I haven't been getting the survey results. I'm hoping that I can figure out a way to get people to do that. I'm thinking I've been doing it on paper, but I'm thinking about linking it to the homepage and asking people to do it that way so they've got an option. I'm going to go backwards for a minute. There it is. I skipped 2 slides. Okay, can you guys see this? Okay. So it was the American Dream Literacy Initiative grant. And I know that they were looking at doing this again. I think they've done it in the past. I think that they were evaluating, they were asking us a lot of questions about the training that we got through it. And they're thinking about if they were going to keep doing it or how often they're going to keep doing it. It's the ALA and the Dollar General Literacy Association. And the Literacy Initiative, it's a pretty wide interpretation of literacy. We didn't do anything that's like ESL or reading and writing, all it was all digital literacy. Computer access and training is one of the things that they cover. It was $5,000. Ours went a little bit over that. I think that if it hadn't been a pandemic year, it would have been an easier fit, but our bosses told us to go ahead and get it, and we covered a little bit. One of the things that required was webinar participation. There were 4 or 5 different webinars, and you do use the project outcome for your grant, your surveys. I have used it before. I'm not crazy about it, but you know, it's free, so that's what we're using. And we already talked about the reentry council, but do you want to talk a little bit about United Way? Because I know you were the one who were in contact with her.
Yeah, so our local United Way was another one of our partners. We had worked with them as a library and different varieties. So whenever we reached out about this, they were super excited and all in from the get-go. So they helped us by promoting their program to their users. And they also provided some information for the resource guides as far as like other community resources that were already in existence. And it was really a team effort of like co-promotion and working together to get information out and get the resources to the people that need them.
Last slide is more reading.
I don't know if we'll be able to send the slides to everybody. Hopefully we can, but yeah, so these are just two references. There's the ALA Libraries and Reentry resource that's available online, and also the article that I mentioned by Austin and Jordan Mackley. Those are great to look at what other libraries are doing as far as like reentry and services for people experiencing incarceration. In doing research to write for this grant, it was very apparent that these resources aren't super talked about and aren't prevalent enough. I'm sure they're happening, and part of like my work in library school is to uplift that research, and I would like to do more digging into amplifying that work. But these are two great resources, one of which came out in 2021. So I highly recommend checking out that work. And yeah, that's kind of recommended reading for that. Also glad to talk and take questions. Yeah.
So that is our last slide, so we can go to questions now.
And there have been some, I don't know if you, Lesley and Emily, were able to see this since they were presenting, but Arlene has dropped in the chat from PLA, California Ready Access Reentry Services for Decarcerated Populations. So just wanted to point that out. Any questions, you're welcome to type in the chat or speak up and mute yourself.
I want to make a comment. I was one of the last ones to talk about introducing, and I said how miserable our expo was. We just had, I think it was 2 weeks ago in another county, not the county that had a miserable turnout, but a expo for expungements. We have active expungements and all in pardons in all our libraries as far as workshops go, but we had a big one, and we had over 600 people attend. And then working with the individuals, because our laws in Delaware have changed so much that things have changed drastically. So I really appreciate this toolkit and how targeted you are on this one particular area. We personally are lending out Chromebooks and hotspots to anyone. And I was just in a meeting the other day because a lot of the people, then they do a survey to get them. And we just want to know what their main use is. And most of the use they say is health, but the second use is entertainment. And then we know it's entertainment, a good deal of it entertainment. And there's a little bit of a problem right now because a lot of people are actually telling the CERT desk, oh, we're going to go on vacation. This is perfect for us for vacation. And that was not our use and intention. It was for people to be taking hotspots on vacation. So I kind of like that we maybe should be looking at a different reason for people being able to take them out on that. So thank you. This is good ammunition.
Two threads on what you just shared. One, yeah, I totally hear the bummer on not having as much attendance. And like we've kind of been bummed out by the lack of use of our toolkits. And this kind of comes from my community organizing background. Whenever you don't have people turn out for an event, that doesn't necessarily mean the event was a flop. A lot of times, one of your goals is just building awareness, building relationships. And in the case of these services, before starting this project, I did just a quick keyword search on our website, and we didn't have anything coming up for reentry or incarceration or any of those terms. And because of that, without intentionally doing so, we were not representing some of our population that we serve pretty regularly. So even though like we haven't gotten a ton of use on these toolkits like we wanted or anticipated, there's still like a step to be made there as far as like building connection with our community users. Hey, we see you, we care about your needs, and hopefully in the long run, we'll continue to build and adapt and tailor our services to what the actual need is and use is. The other thread that I heard from there is the entertainment use. We kind of figured that for ours as well. Some of the people that come to use our computers from the recovery centers really want to use them to get on Facebook. And while it's not necessarily career building, the impact that incarceration has on someone's sense of community and self is like really significant. And that impact that the trauma has on lack of like connection and community does factor into one's ability to successfully adapt and come back into society and plug in, get a job and feel fulfilled. So I wouldn't discount it. I would encourage like to work it into a plan and work it into a different degree of success for your programming, especially if it ups your circulation statistics. But yeah, making sure that people who need the resources get the resources of what we're here for. And yeah, there's a lot of dynamics to it. And there is a care work side to providing reentry services that does feed into people's eventual success. So.
When you give it wide open to anyone to have it, no problem with getting those hotspots and Chromebooks.
Yeah.
It's like not a problem whatsoever. It's like,
oh yeah.
yeah. Especially the hotspots. The hotspots are then like long wait lists for people.
I actually have a question that's somewhat related. I was recently asked if our library system was a second chance employer, if we were actively seeking to hire formerly incarcerated or returning citizens. To my knowledge, we are not actively designating ourselves that. I'm wondering if any of you have done that or have experience with hiring returning citizens intentionally.
I can make a comment on that we've tried to just get them to be volunteers at the library, and our HR staff won't even consider it to volunteer. So, but I was just chatting with Hillary, we have a big organization in our area called the Life Learning Center that has done a very, very innovative program where they take people coming out of the family courts into the program with felonies on the record. They put them through a 6-week boot camp, if you will, and they now have arrangements with, I think, over 175 different companies who will hire them directly out of the program. So because we have that situation here and we have this big partnership with them, everybody on our public services staff knows we can refer people to that program. So it's been somewhat of a non-issue, but no, I mean, we haven't even gotten our HR staff to consider volunteers second chance, let alone employees.
A lot of your states through your Department of Labor have the bonding program. So they're very actively working with employers, and also will do.
We have that too.
For patrons in your libraries too. So everybody knows that it's available on that. So there's a lot, and because of the shortage of people that are willing to work, people are becoming much more open onto that in that whole area itself.
Yeah, I don't think that we're eligible to take advantage of the work opportunity tax credit because we're funded by taxpayer dollars, but I think the bonding is useful. I just haven't seen much. I personally haven't seen much success in convincing employers to use that service.
It's a lot of red tape. People really have to be into it, and it depends on the company, because if it's a hospital, they still will not hire someone second chance if they were convicted for like drug dealing, something like that. It depends on the unit. So they really have to be sold. Hillary, are you taking the lead on questions?
Yes. But anybody else have questions? And I do want to share, I did pass the information about the reentry kits on to our head of the Department of Corrections in Kentucky. So she is aware that that these kits are available in McCracken County Public Library. So, and I also let our Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board executive assistant know about these existing too. So try to keep the folks at the state level aware as best as I can of these being what libraries are doing in general in our state, but then what resources are available. Anybody else have questions? I see there's some discussions in the chat about soft skills too. Thank you, Lesley, for sharing the ALA resource.
I'll just chime in again, not so much with a question, but just a comment based on the presentation I saw at the PLA conference and the link that I provided in the chat for the project that was going on in California. I do think one of the things that's really interesting that is different about the way that the folks in California were approaching their project was that they really tried to have their services be less about designing services for decarcerated folks, but just to get information out generally about library services available to individuals that work with those populations. So it was less about go access this thing for your type of person. It was more about there are services available at the library that could be relevant to what you need in terms of being able to check out laptops or phones or that kind of thing. So it was just a really interesting presentation in terms of, and it was done by a librarian who was a former police officer. So, which is not a very often, she talked a little bit about her career change. And so it was a very interesting kind of approach, but she said she was trying to speak from her experience in understanding how people come into their situations and thinking about the stigma of just the, incarceration as incarceration, re-entry, and all of those kinds of things are, this terminology we use, just like we were talking about at the beginning, the term literacy and all that kind of stuff. The terminology we use may be an aspect of the things that we need to consider when we're trying to design services. So anyway, I thought that was a really interesting perspective on this issue, and I thought it would be worth sharing. So.
Thanks, Arlene. Since we have so many librarians from Kentucky on the call today, I had to bring up Rich Strike. So
I didn't even watch the Derby, but it's kind of a thing.
No, yeah, Churchill Downs is opening or renovating a park in northern Kentucky, and so the presentation on the park was this morning. So we had an opportunity to hear that whole story. And the story is something that most librarians would absolutely love, because the jockey and the trainer who won the Kentucky Derby had absolutely no inclination that they would even be in the Kentucky Derby. In order to register and be in that, you have to accumulate points to even be selected as a horse to run in that Derby. And he happened to win a race, got 20 points, and then through other horses falling out, made it at the very last minute. And it's just a big story. Everyone was talking about how it will probably be a movie at some point. So something that will be a story, could be a book, could be something we'll all be aware of down the road. So wanted everybody to know that name.
I think Alta touched on this a little bit, but do you see any other applications, Lesley or Emily or anybody, for these specific types of kits, and what audience can you think of that would benefit, that could, I don't know, you talked about recovery, so those in recovery centers, I can see that potentially, but any other ideas?
Definitely, this was mentioned in our presentation as well, but students, especially non-traditional students, One thing I'm really excited about in my work at Seattle Central College now are the existing reentry services that are here, as well as just general toolkit lend, or not toolkit, but computer lending and materials lending. So yeah, tailoring this for all students, especially in tandem with community college work, is also a great opportunity. And I'm excited to learn from the Seattle Central College faculty.
Our other digital toolbox is for anyone, and we're mostly just trying to get a lot of those so that the hold list goes down. We have in the past, we also had another group called Skill Building. That was another grant. And when we had that and reentry, it was already, or sorry, that and the toolkits, it was starting to confuse people a little bit because they had different checkout times. And now we've got the reentry kits, and the skill building is just folded into digital toolbox. So I don't know if it would be helpful to have several different categories. I think that in some families, they would probably try to have some on every different hold list, which would be fine. But with us, we have a thing where it's one kit per family. I don't know, I think that it could get really confusing really fast. The hold list for reentry, we're still shocked we don't have a hold list, but for the hold list is long, and it's people are calling a lot, asking where I'm at on the hold list. And I think if they had 2 or 3 different hold lists that they were eligible for, and we were trying to figure out which one's better for them or something like that, I think it could be a mess. And also sometimes they will come back and they will say, the last time I had a different computer, I want that one. And people have had us pulling computers out of the desk and switching them, which was a nightmare. I found out afterwards I was not supposed to do that. It was a mess. It took us, I think, a month and a half to unscramble that egg. So I don't really see for us having several different categories. We have the toolkit for anybody, and then we have the reentry toolkit, and we'll pick one. We also, for now at least, we're 18 and up, so we don't have one for younger kids. Sure didn't think about bringing up earlier. I don't know if we would ever have one where younger kids could get them. I don't work with these services here, so we haven't talked about that. Another thing to think, sorry, I was going to say another thing to think about is how long it takes to reset them when they come in. So if anyone's thinking about doing that, when they come back, they haven't been running updates because of the deep freeze that stops people from changing them. So when you get it, you have to turn on it, you start running updates, and you run them over and over and over again. It takes forever. And then on the phone, I've been doing a factory reset. I just found out today that I have not been setting up the voicemail when I'm done. So they're going out with no voicemail set up. That also takes a while because they have an update to run. So it's time consuming.
I was going to throw in one of the reasons we started with the somewhat complicated having different toolkits designated was to make sure that if someone came in and it was kind of an emergency need to have that computer for an important court date or an assignment that's due, that we had a particular computer ready to meet that need with the shorter hold list. The tension is everything that Emily just described. So there's no easy answer for that. And I think it really just depends on what works for your library and practice.
So with us in Delaware, you're going to this is going to shock you, but our hold list, you only get it for 1 week. The Chrome and the hotspot, and then you can, if there's not a hold on it, you can get it up to 3 more weeks. Each week you have to redo it, and that might be one of the reasons why our return is we have 20% that don't come back on Chromebooks and in hotspots. So, so we're constantly circling all this. So I'm going to possibly present that, but we have, I don't actually even know how many hundreds, we have hundreds in each county out.
I wanted to bring up a question that's coming in the chat. Alta, were you done? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I always interrupt everybody. Just interrupt away.
So Leanne has asked a question, okay, about do you have any opportunity to meet with folks on the inside, or have you only talked with folks who have been released?
I have not.
Okay.
That was building programming with the jail was one of my goals as we were going into this, but due to COVID, we were not able to do any in-person programming. That would be, as far as improving circulation of the toolkits, that would be my biggest note, is like building relationships with the people inside. So like they know what to expect. They have a familiar face whenever they get out, would be the biggest point of growth for this, and would highly recommend anyone trying this to go for. As it exists, yeah, it's really just whenever they're released and sent to the library by the employees at the jail.
Well, I just saw in the chat that said reentry is 3 months, but reentry is 1 month, and the other digital toolkits were 3 months. And I may very well have switched that around because I switched digital toolkits and reentry kits a lot in my head. But the ones that were 3 months, we just changed them to 1. And I don't know what our percentage of loss is, but on the whole, the hotspots, sometimes when they don't come back, when we turn them off, it kind of actually reminds them, oh, wait a minute, that was the library hotspot. I've got to take that back. They get used to it and they've had it for a month. And when we shut it off, it usually comes back after that. Of course, with the laptop, they can take that elsewhere and use other Wi-Fi, but the hotspots usually come back then. We have already had 1 reentry kit come back without its hotspot. But so far, we've gotten them back and they usually come back on time. There's one that's out now that I don't know when it's going to come back. And the phone number she left me is our reentry kit phone number, and I sent it out without the voicemail set up, so I can't leave her a message. So I don't know. I may have just lost one. We'll find out in a few months.
And we did factor that into when we were writing the grant. We were just realistic, like this is just part of lending them, and especially meeting the needs of a population that's in a transitional state. For us, it was worth the risk. And we did build that into our risk analysis and setting up the program. Again, no easy answer. It's just a call you got to make.
And with the other, the digital boxes, we've had them long enough that we've had some that have just, that got worn out. They go out constantly. As soon as they come in, we reset them and there's a whole already waiting. So some of our loss on those laptops has just been really heavy use. Sometimes it's other stuff, but they come back in interesting condition sometimes.
There's quite a discussion in the chat about the amount of loss, and then I see somebody Alta said that some of the lost Chromebooks have turned up at garage sales.
Yeah, I think we had one come up on Facebook Marketplace at one point.
One was retrieved from a pawn shop.
I guess Genevieve, if you don't mind to share, or if you can unmute, you're welcome to share more about your program.
Yeah, so we looked at our numbers, especially post-pandemic, and we were averaging about 50% loss for our Chromebooks and our hotspots. So our hotspots do get turned off, but they still were not being returned. So that's why we started our partnerships like with Dell. So I believe we have about 500 Chromebooks that we're going to be distributing to families and communities, and we're trying to figure out how to expand on that, because there's definitely a need in the community for these materials. So we're trying to figure out, like, you know, if we can get more donated. We haven't gotten any hotspots donated yet. So the hotspots that we have are still going to be circulating, but we're still trying to figure out like what else we can do to bridge this gap.
Then will it be through the schools or from the library, or I missed that, I apologize.
So yeah, no, that's fine. So we started out with library locations. So we have a partnership with a program that helps families. I believe it's kindergarten through like elementary. So those were our first registrants, and the families came and they got the Chromebooks, and then we were giving them out, like, if it was a family with multiple children, then we started just giving, you have 3 kids, we'll give you 3 laptops. And then our second arm of it was going out into like the barber shops. So very, very community based. So we're going to be at a couple of barber shops and a couple of salons within the community, and they're going to be distributing them through that avenue as well. The parents do need to sign up and be like vetted for it. But depending on what the turnout is, how many we have available, then it's basically, on site, on demand kind of thing.
Leslie's just typed in the chat too about McCracken County High School providing laptops to their students. Any additional thoughts or questions about what McCracken County's been doing? They have a lot of great outreach things going on, not just with the reentry kids. So I could brag on them and Natalie's library too. Proud of I'm proud of this group though. So
I used to live in Kenton County, so I got to use Natalie's library, and it was really, really good. It's one of the things I missed when I moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie and Emily and Hillary. This was excellent. And such great conversation in the chat and everything else as well. While we have the last like 20 minutes or so, does anyone have any burning questions on any topic? It could be related to this still. It could be something else that you were hoping to talk about or advice you wanted. This is the time to share those things.
I have a question, but I'll wait unless somebody else can go ahead of me. I actually reached out to some of you all. I have been asked about the usefulness, or if you all have used the Google certifications, any of the Google certifications for your library staff, and how, if you have they been useful? Or have you seen them be effective, and kind of the pros and cons of that, if anybody has? And thank you in advance.
Hillary, I was waiting to see if anybody else jumped in, but since no one did, I'll jump in. We had Pam Baker, who just won the technology award in the state of Kentucky at KPLA a couple months ago. When when we first started with Google, she started the IT certification, and it took her 6 months to get it, but she was really glad that she did do it. And Pam has effectively been teaching most of our tech-related Grow with Google classes. Like, she does the digital literacy skills for everyday tasks. She does using the Google Workspace. She does getting a Gmail and calendar account very regularly for us. And she thought it made it easier to do all of that. And she was glad that she had the certification, but it did take her 6 months. So it does take time. So it was hard. It would be harder for a lot of staff to find the extra time to do it. Now, some of the other classes people could take, like I'd like to take the one that you mentioned in your email myself, but it's more of a time element. But I also printed out all the Grow with Google classes that they make it easy for us to offer. And we were doing a lot of those with great success, but we've had trouble getting people to attend those recently. And I think really it's because we have such an acute labor shortage with the people that might attend these classes. They can all get jobs without really growing their basic computer skills. So, but it is a conundrum because our one-stop center in our state, everyone has one. They just did a study and assessed all the people who were on unemployment insurance and asked them what services they need the most. And first, the highest need was employment services. The second highest need was computer classes. So it's frustrating that the need is out there, yet we can't get the people to attend the classes. So I don't know how to, I wish they could help us with that. So if you prompted me to reach out to Google, Google has these partner workshops where you can get online with people from all over the country. The next one is actually tomorrow at noon, which is a really bad time for me. But you could just log into their site and talk with the Google staff and ask them any kind of question you want. So I was like ready to say, how can you guys help us? You know, whether you're give most public libraries a $10,000 Google ad grant to share the information, or how do we reach people where they are? And I think that's something we're all working with. Most of the people on the call know we've been trying very, very hard to reach the Hispanic community in our area. And we've tried to do job searching classes in Spanish, couldn't get anybody to attend, try to go to neighborhood events, share flyers, that didn't work. We're doing Hispanic hiring events, that's helping a little bit. But what we've gathered is most of the community communicates a lot using Facebook, and then they use an app called WhatsApp. But that's something that you have on your phone, which is really hard for us as public libraries to connect with. So we haven't figured that out. So I think there's some grassroots issues out there that I would love to know if other people find ways to connect people to our programs at that level, to let us know, because we're struggling with that.
So what I just learned was a barrier is that, like, in Hispanic communities, they think that the library is fee-based, so they don't understand that we don't pay fees. Like, you can come in, use our services, and being in the space is a free space. So I think maybe, highlighting that in communications, because even though they're seeing that it's a library program, they might still think that there's some type of fee attached to it.
We didn't get that. We got that they consider us part of the government.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
But
yeah, so.
Another issue we've been talking about with reaching people who speak English not as a first language is that they may not be literate in their original language. So then there's a barrier of literacy before even, it's not even an issue of the literacy, like there being a language issue with the digital literacy. It's the literacy issue with even just starting from the basics. So that's something to overcome as well. That makes it a larger issue than, just the one thing that you're trying to address.
We were one of the states that signed up for the Mexican consulate, and they do these classes. And it can be anyone from any Latinx country that comes to America, hasn't had early elementary schooling, and they can find out where their level is and then work with them to get more proficient in their own language, because you can't teaching in the English when you can't even read in your own language is just basically impossible. So and it's completely free. You have to go through the consulate to be able to sign up and all that. The problem with us, we haven't, since the pandemic, we haven't gotten teachers involved in this again. Part of this funding and everything, and you're right. It's with all the things that have been happening lately with immigration, it's really been a more difficult row in the last few years as compared. But some of our libraries have been very active in the ESL And some libraries are offering a lot of classes in Spanish for mortgages, divorces, expungements, the whole thing besides just ESL and that. But it helps that there is people that from the community that are the staff in those libraries. So that's kind of, helps a lot.
What also helps and is also a big challenge for communities that have more than one language that's prevalent is making sure that you have materials in that language for them. My previous library in Houston, they had a Spanish collection, but it was also a very small Spanish collection. But the third most spoken language in Houston is Vietnamese. And we started to slowly try and build our Vietnamese collection as well. But we also really tried to aim for those bilingual books that we understood that a lot of people could not read in their own language. And so we would often try to purchase the ones that are double-sided. You got the, Dick and Jane kind of book that had the English on one side and Spanish on the other, so that the kids could read to the parents and then the parents could read back to their kids, and they could both practice the languages together.
You can always drop books in the
And as Genevieve also pointed out, you have this, or Genevieve, I'm sorry, you have this real issue of everyone thinking, especially in the Hispanic community, that there is some kind of fee associated. That often asking what's the membership or what's the club price, and it's like there is no price, there is no membership, like it's free, and everyone their mind is blown, and it's really hard to push into the community, because not only are they not sure that it's free or not, but I think, as you mentioned, Natalie, there's also the government part of it, that why do you need my information for a library card? Is Immigracion going to kick in my door because my visa's expired? It's one part fear, one part not knowing that it's free. But yeah, those are both very prevalent problems with non-English speaking communities.
Any other burning questions or advice or updates? Are we all tired?
I mean, I got more if you want.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead, Justin.
Okay. Well, first of all, I was caught unawares of the new link. I apologize that I got on here a little late. I am super proud of Emily and Lesley for their presentation today. Emily's office is like right next door to me, so I could hear her talking as I'm trying to get on. So like I was following along, but like I kept getting dumped into the Zoom session with only just me. And I thought, I know I'm in the right spot, just not quite there. But yes, I am very, very proud of all the services that McCracken County offers. I cannot take credit for it. I just joined up with the library in August of 2021. Emily had a lot of this stuff already rolling before I got here. I can't take credit for it. All the credit goes to Emily and Lesley. I mean, they are both absolute superheroes. And I know that Lesley's already gone, but big shout out to her. Even though she is no longer with McCracken County Public Library, she still made time to, come and talk to you all today. And I am very grateful to her for that. So way to go, Emily. We're going to remember this at evaluation time. Other news, I think the only other thing I really have to share is by the time we have our next meeting, I will probably be married. And that's all I got.
Congratulations, Justin. That's great.
Thank you.
So speaking of next month, does anyone know what, if we have a topic all lined up for next month?
I thought Elizabeth did, Andrea, because I just checked my notes and I was going to do job scan, but on July 12th, because I think we had someone else that wanted to speak in June, but I can't remember exactly what it was. So.
Okay. But I
I
think
also I have wedding brain, Justin. My daughter's getting married June 4th. My head is like full of too many details. So
June 10th, we're gonna go easy June 10th. Like it's gonna be simple courthouse marriage, like just to get her on my health insurance because America. And we're gonna wait another year or two to actually have like wedding, save up some money, wait for COVID to die down. I'm knocking on some wood here. So yeah, no, I like all we're getting is like a place to eat after the courthouse ceremony and like a photographer for 30 minutes. And already I'm tearing my hair out.
June 5th is a good day. I think that we're taking off for July and August. That's what we usually do because of vacations and things. So Natalie, we might have to loop back to you in September if that's okay.
okay, yep, that's fine.
And I'll check in with Elizabeth about what the plan is for June. So stay tuned. And someone pointed out that there was the time was a little confusing, I guess, on the calendar invite. So I apologize to anyone tuning in from Pacific time that if there was a mistake there. So I'll make sure that that's fixed for next time. And I'll also make sure that the link goes out again in case there was anybody who also missed it. So my apologies if you're listening to the recording now and you were affected by that. So
let's shout out to you. Thank you for taking this on. We've, there's some real rock stars in this group. Andrea, Lisa, Arlene, Natalie. Yes, thank you.
And Hillary, everyone.
Hillary, yeah. No, but I'm talking about the ones that the original people that started all this. And I'm not anybody, but there's some people, I'm a talker, but I don't do anything. Show up and then talk.
Elizabeth has a new job, so
yes, yeah,
busy lady. So
busy lady, absolute busy lady.
Yeah. So it is funny that we've known each other long enough to now be helping each other with their careers. So I have one friend who works for the Cincinnati Public Library right now that is going to build on his experience and try to go to work in a totally unrelated but workforce role. So it's interesting. So we offer career guidance here too.
Yeah. Well, that's the name of the game right now. There's the great resignation and the great, shifting of all this stuff. So it's making a very interesting time.
Yes.
I sometimes feel like this group is like 80% like professional business advancement and like a 20% like trauma support group, depending on the month.
It's true. Yeah, with the Great Resignation, I feel like I was hearing about it, but I didn't know anyone who was leaving a position or anything. It was almost like there was a delay because now, I feel like in the past 2 weeks, I found out about so many people leaving positions and retiring and big changes. So it's, the trickle effect, I think maybe it took a little longer to get to the library world. Maybe, I don't know, or just it's my experience.
I had one library that's manager after 30 years retired. The business reference person became the manager. She decided to retire after being with that library for, I don't know, at least 20 years, up to Northern New York, Syracuse. Never been there in her life, but it's like, all right, it's like, okay. And then now we're on the third person in that library. And it was a very consistent staff. So it was like, wow, there's been a lot of changes in Delaware. Like every day, it's like.
And I can speak for myself. I was in Queens for 6 years, and then in August I came to Pratt, and I know a lot of people that have left QPL and NYPL and in Brooklyn and gone to like Alaska and just all these random places. So I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just came to Kentucky from Houston back in August myself. Yeah, I totally get that.
And Hillary pointed out in chat, yes, Lisa, congratulations on being in American Libraries. Did you know you were in there?
Well, I got an email saying they needed a bio shot for it a while back. So I was like, otherwise I would not have known. So I was like, cool, thank you. I guess more than anything else, it's nice when they recognize the work and the partnerships with the workforce agencies, especially around youth, because that's pretty near and dear to my heart. So I was pretty pleased to see that.
Wow, that's great. Lisa, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I mean, the credit 1000% goes to this group and to PLA for helping to pull all that together. I just showed up with stuff. But
good. If anybody is interested, you can always join our job search support group meetings on Wednesday mornings. We always have speakers on some aspect of the job search that we don't hold regular meetings or hold regular classes on. And we invite people from around the country who are interested in relocating to our area or finding jobs here to chime in, and we help them with their job searches. And that applies to librarians too. So I put the link in the chat. You just have to actually register for it to get the Zoom invitation. So.
Thank
you. I want to say that quite a while ago, we had a meeting on the demographics and they had the PowerPoint and all that. So I sent that to the WLA, the partners, the leaders, and then to each county has their own frontline meeting. And with all these other meetings with the manufacturers and everything else, I keep sending it to them because it keeps talking about recruiting from other states. I said, are you kidding? Who's coming to our state when other states are wanting? It's what are we offering? Seriously, we offering a little lower taxes as far as property, higher taxes in your income. So it's a fabulous one.
Yeah,
helps realize.
It's called the demographic drought, and the report is by Burning Glass. And if I know Hillary Rich, she'll have it in the chat in like seconds. But
see, look at me. I'm talking about it, but not even looking it up. But
it's all right. It's required reading for any public librarian in the workforce area. You'll look like a hero if you read it and you can understand the 5 trends contributing to it. And it'll be, to me, it's like getting up there with climate change. It's the next big issue that no one's really talking about. So
it's really making us look like we know what we're talking about, right? I mean,
good.
I mean, because I'm all day long, I'm on Zoom meetings with all these different groups and a lot of employers and the school districts and everybody else is sending me jobs things. So I'll just send them, by the way, have you read this? It's like,
yeah. If you do that,
how many people haven't read that are in HR are clueless in some of these demographics.
Yeah. This book too, Alta, it's called Workquake by Steve Cadigan.
Okay.
It's critical reading for anybody. Okay. I'll put it in the chat for anybody in workforce. You'll look like a hero when you can use the term. Well, you can say, well, as a librarian, I have a very high learning velocity. That'll be like, and my adaptability quotient is really good. That kind of thing. It's like very popular terms to use with people like that. So it'll be good. Good.
It's good. It's good. Because Natalie, I'm serious. We got to figure something out as far as this upskilling and all. If we're doing all these wonderful programs and yet we're not getting, people are not really wanting the computer classes and all like that, then they really need. I mean, so once all this money dries up, and they don't, then they're going to really need it and want it, and there's not going to be the money or the resources to give it to them. It's going to be, that's when I resign or retire. Just letting you guys know. I have a breaking point, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, we were worried because when COVID first hit, and everybody was getting laid off, we were doing these meetings. We were all convinced that there were going to be tons and tons of people that were going to be looking for jobs, and so we used all the Grow with Google classes to train our public services staff who were home, doing nothing, to get more familiar with helping people find jobs. No one ever expected what's happened. And then we used to call our website Job Search Central. And I was like, no, we can't just do that. We got to go bigger. So we pivoted and turned everything to career and job services so we can cater to people not only looking for jobs, but unhappy in their careers that are looking to grow and develop and things like that. And it's happening. We're getting recognized as helping people return to the workforce. So that's another tactic that public libraries can take too. So fun times. Cool.
Right. I think we're going to have to end it there. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording.